Hello, and welcome to 218 Time, a podcast by two guys with an approximate knowledge of many things. I'm Feats,
I'm Tommy.
and wait, it's not just us this week. There's someone else here too.
It's me.
It's him. Yep, he doesn't have a name. No, this is our friend Sam. Welcome to the show, Sam.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You are our first ever guest. Huge honor, really big popular show you're on here.
Yeah, I know people are like Howard Stern, who I'm listening to Feats and Tom.
Oh, you know it. But don't worry, we're gonna get Beetlejuice on our show one day. It's gonna happen. Welcome to 218. How you doing, Sam? What have you been up to lately? I don't know. Anything interesting?
Not much. I've mostly just been learning Python for grad school, and I don't know if Tommy's talked about it, but we're working on an indie game.
Oh yeah.
That's
And
true. That hasn't come up
yeah.
yet.
I don't
It
know. I
hasn't?
don't think it has. No.
Oh, so we're working on an indie game.
Yeah.
Tommy and I are in the writing department, and I'm also in the sound department. And I'm really bad at this. Can be our transition. You ready for this?
This is gonna be great. I'm going. This is going.
I'm really bad at music, which is today's topic.
You did it. You nailed it. Oh my
Uh,
gosh.
Yeah, no, but like, I do it with our friend Dave, who's like a musical prodigy.
He's a
And
legend. He's definitely gonna be on the show.
I'm
one day.
out here like I'll just like I have like this basic like 4 chord progression. I'm like, hey Dave, this is pretty cool, right? And he's like, yeah, I mean that's just like like you're going from like first to whatever to like the fifth of the C major scale, and then you go back to the first, which is like a natural like whatever. And I'm like, yeah, the piano go burr.
Piano go do do do.
No, I feel that though. I mean, you and I are both part of a thing with our friends that's kind of like a weekly music book club kind of thing. And I come in that
Yeah,
every
I mean,
week.
we found it.
Yeah, that's true. Because I forget which one of us said it, but you were just kind of like, dude, we could listen to a new album every week. And I was like,
I think you said you want to do something where like we talk about music with our friends who are good at it. And I was like,
yeah,
And then I was like, we could make it like a book club. I think that's how like it came about.
yeah. Because you and I like, we'll talk a lot about random obscure music, especially you just sending me weird. I'm like, give me weird music, and you're like, I got you. Here's something from my library of 10,000 plus songs.
I think I'm
And
getting closer to like 11 now.
holy cow.
So for me, like I just always listen to music, and all my friends are super musical. Like I don't know how, but like all my friends from like home are like the most talented people I've met in my life. Like no offense, boys, but
No, that's none taken.
Yeah,
Well,
none taken whatsoever.
like, one of my boys, Phil, like he had like arthritis as a child, and like the way he like tried to overcome it was playing guitar. So like
That's so
he's like
cool.
he's incredible at guitar. My friend, do you know the Monster Cat label? It's like a pretty big techno label. He like recorded with this artist, Smile, SMLE, and they're like a Grammy nominated group, and he like played piano on one of their tracks.
Holy cow.
Hell
It
yeah.
was insane. You know, Nord. He was like showing me a song, and it was my friend's song, and I was like, "Oh, you're messing with me, right?" And he was like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, that's my boy." I play board games with that boy every break.
That's crazy.
It was like surreal. Yeah, like all my homeboys are like insanely talented at music. So
And
it's
your
like,
claim to fame is you've been on this really cool podcast, so you're way cooler
yeah,
than them.
so it's like I'm like slightly better, but like it's hard.
Yeah.
No, but I was talking to one of my friends. They had this band in high school called Whitney, and they were insane. One of their sets was "The Bird" by Anderson .Paak, into "Sober" by Childish Gambino, into "Wait for the Moment" by Wolfpack.
That's
Um,
powerful.
and then they did an 80s mega mix, which is the main part of it is Macintosh Plus, like the Vaporwave song.
Oh yeah.
Instrumental, but with "Never Gonna Give You Up" lyrics.
That sounds amazing. I need to hear that.
It was so good. But like they did that like back in. Did I ever tell you about our high school graduation?
I don't think you have, no.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Our school did this thing where like you could audition to do whatever you wanted at graduation, and as long as it was like good enough, you could do it. So
Oh, boy.
so my boys are like, "Yo, let's like play music." I was like, "Yeah, I'm down." I had just started playing bass. I was probably like maybe a year into playing bass, but I was like so like I did it like super by myself once every like month or so I'd play. So I was like super new, really bad at it. And my friend and then like my friends were like, yeah, like this is a really cool song. Wait for the Moment by Wolfpack. And I was like, oh, well, like I'll see what it is. Like it sounds pretty cool. I don't know if you guys know that song, but it has like a minute long bass solo.
I don't think I've
Nice.
heard it now.
Oh, it has this really cool bass solo. I highly recommend it. It's like this alternating bass line. It's like bottom, bottom, bottom kind of sound. And they're like, yeah, so the audition's tomorrow. And I listened to it and I was like, there's no way I could learn this in overnight. So they're like, shoot. So what they did is my friend Phil, the one who like plays guitar, he borrowed a bass from his friend and just learned it overnight. And then they took the guitar part of the song, transcribed it to saxophone, and my friend Day, who plays sax, played the guitar part on saxophone.
That's fantastic.
And they absolutely crushed it. It was insane. It was like one of the best performances I've ever seen.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Were there any other like highlights from that day?
Not necessarily that one, because it was just a lot of like poetry and stuff. But they did another concert, New Year's. So my friend Coombs had this we called it his basement Fury Road. It was like this staircase in the middle and then this wide open area around it. And we would just like skateboard around it.
Nice.
His basement was huge. So on New Year's the next year, we're like, we should do a concert. Because at that point, Nick was because we were all in college, he went to Berkeley, like the music school.
Hmm.
So we had like a bunch of friends who did music and stuff. So we're like, yo, we can just get a bunch of those guys and just like have ourselves like a mini like fest here. So we set it up, but Coombs named it. He made a Facebook group for it, and he named it Quack Concert Series Best of 7. And the picture was a duck snorting an illicit substance. and the sole post on the page was just my dad said we could get pay-per-view. So nobody thought it was real, and nobody showed up except for the people that set it up because we knew it was real. So it was like there were like twice as many like musical artists as there were people in the crowd. But it was so good because we just had like we brought a couple of couches over, and basically the entire audience fit on like these 2 couches, and we just had like a private concert series just for us.
Wait, that's so cool though. Oh
That
my
must have been
gosh.
dope.
It was so fun, and then like the boys would just like they'd be like, "Yo, this one's for you," and then like one of them was like, "Yo, this one's for you, Neil," and then like they pointed to me, and I was like, "Ah," and I just like got up and I was like a groupie for them.
Oh,
Oh,
I mean, we've talked before, many episodes ago at this point, about like live music and concerts, and I know Tommy isn't a huge fan of them, but how do you feel about kind of like,
I
you know,
love
live
live
music
music.
setting?
Yeah. I've been to a decent amount of concerts. I love the bands that are like intimate about it.
Hmm.
I guess I'll give the 2 extremes. So I went to a Panic at the Disco like free live concert in my senior year of high school, and that was like insane because it was just it was like the crowd was massive. I was with my friend Samira at the time. We were just like hanging out. This guy had like a hookah in front of us, like out in the open. Samira got a bunch of cocaine on her leg because someone like dropped their cocaine behind us.
Nice, nice.
That one was like it was hectic. It was like crazy. I can get into why I hate Brandon Urie of Panic at the Disco if you guys want.
Sure.
If you want to, go for
Bro,
it.
100%.
So Panic at the Disco, their first album was A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, which is like, in my opinion, like peak pop punk. It's like just such a solid pop punk album, and at the same and like you just like felt the instruments every band. You felt like it was that attitude. Like a lot of so they're off the Fueled by, or they were. I think they changed, but they're off the Fueled by Ramen label. And everyone off that label at the time had that like angsty middle school to high school energy. You know, like Fall Out Boy, Paramore,
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know Paramore was on there.
Gym Class Heroes was off that label too.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
like,
Bro, my favorite pop punk.
well, not pop punk, but you know, like that whole like, oh,
Yeah, no, I got you.
I'm
Yeah.
a cool kid energy. But then like they got more poppy over time, and then basically Brandon Urie was like, "I'm Panic at the Disco. You guys like and like so most of the band quit, and then he just got new people and like made it much more pop centric. So like on the later albums, you can tell like they were much more like commercialized, and like a lot of their music was used in like advertisement. Like that was like when Ready to Go was in a bunch of ads and stuff.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so then when I saw him, I like Fury Cancer Out was like one of my favorite albums, and they were like doing a lot of stuff from that, so I was like vibing. But anytime there's like a cool solo, like there'd be like a cool drum solo, cool guitar or whatever, he would make the band member playing it get off that instrument so he could do it. So it'd
Oh,
be like the drummer's like playing some like pretty normal stuff the whole time, and it's like his solo, like he's ready for it. He gets off drums, and then Brendan Urie plays it. It's like that's not cool.
that's yeah, that sucks. Dang.
It's about to be our moment, and then
Yeah,
Brendan Urie shows
You're
up.
like, nah.
You're
It's one of
about
those
to
memes where it's like you're at the library, you're taking out a book,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden a guy catches your eye, and oh my God, is that Brendan Urie?
but he takes the book.
There's stuff like that, and then there's stuff like the Deer Hunter is a band I love. Their whole thing's it's really cool. Their like kind of main shtick is every album is an act in a play, and
Ooh.
it takes place in this like fictional European town around like World War One, and it's about like the son of a prostitute and like him trying to like find his identity kind of. Like super cool band, super cool concept, great music.
Ah.
But like when they were playing, they're like, "Hey guys, we do this thing called like sadness madness when we're on tour," and they had a bracket of really sad music, and then they're like, "All right, we're gonna go like by cheering. Which one do you think is sadder?" And they do that on tour, and every concert they'll just do like a different part of the bracket, and then by the end of the tour they have like the saddest song voted by crowds.
That's amazing. Wow.
And it's just like random stuff like that, or like there was like one drunk girl in the crowd who's like, "It's my birthday, woo!" And then the singer, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name. It's like Casey something. He like stopped and he's like, "Hey, like, thank you for coming on your birthday. Like, it's a very important day. Like, thank you for choosing to be with us on this day. Like, I hope we made it worthwhile." And like he could have just like ruined her off, but he genuinely like was heartfelt and said that to her, and then she's like, "Hey." I remember that.
Hell yeah!
And it was just cool. I was like, it's nice.
No,
It
that's
was like
dope.
nice.
That is dope.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, one of my favorite concerts that I've been to at this point wasn't that personal, but like it was for the band The Marias, which is a not super duper small because they have some pretty popular songs on Spotify, but they don't have a lot of music yet. It's like a kind of dream pop band, and I saw
Ooh.
them in a really small venue that was basically just like a club or whatever. And that experience for me, compared to like the concert stadium experience, which I still really enjoy, it was very, I don't know, it just felt really like unique and cool and like relaxed, and I was just kind of having a good time with the boys.
Hell yeah!
Yeah. Oh, I've actually two even more extreme examples I just thought of.
Dude,
So
go for it, throw 'em down.
one you're talking about is like I saw the Who on their like Quadrophenia like reunion tour or whatever.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
It was super cool, but at the same time, it was like half the show was just them like doing an in memoriam for all their dead band members, and it was really depressing. Cause like they had like arguably I would say like the one of the greatest bass players alive. He was like Thunder. His nickname was like the Ox or Thunderfingers,
Oh,
and his
that's
stuff
so
was like
cool.
he was insane. Like Townsend, their guitar player, like he's the one that invented the windmill. And like
Oh,
so
wow.
they have like a huge legacy. Hitch
Yeah.
has a scar because he did the windmill and his hand went through the whammy bar.
Oh,
Um,
Oh,
they're such a like I don't know. I just love like the legacies bands have, but also like sometimes it's fun if it's just like a random little like band that does like some weird stuff. Like my friend he's like one of my close friends who's like insanely into music. Like they just like and his brother like he's at the same level of like insane music knowledge. So they his brother has a band called Lzrd Woman, and it's
amazing name.
this genre of music called dude metal. It's really weird, but like I love it. And we saw them a couple of years ago, winter break. They played like in a church basement on Friday the 13th. And their lead singer is like he's like a pretty bulky dude, and he wore a sundress, a Friday the 13th sweater, and then a Jason Voorhees mask,
What?
and then just absolutely shredded on guitar.
Is that like the dude metal aesthetic?
No, it was just because it was Friday the 13th, so like he wanted to like dress up for it.
Oh my god.
Oh,
I respect it. I'm still hung up on what is dude metal.
dude, I can't describe it. It's like so that they had one song, and it's the one Cruz's brother sings, and he's just like, I look in the mirror, I look really pretty, I look really pretty, I look really... and it's just like mumbling for like, I guess I could link one of their songs. They have a great song called Boston Celtics, 2007 to 2012, in memory of Rondo. Ha 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 ha! Jesus Christ.
That's the full title.
They don't have the ha 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 Jesus Christ on Lzrd on Spotify, but that's the OG title for
Oh
the
my
real
god.
fans.
The real deal. You know the secrets. The deep lore.
It's pretty emo in like the traditional sense of emo, not like the because like emo is like actually a full genre of music, but most people that most people who say they listen to emo music listen to punk music, but
Yeah.
they call it emo because actual emo is like just genuinely like a dude screaming about his emotions, like ah.
Where are you?
Yeah, that's like kind of emo. Like some Blink songs will like almost be emo, but they're usually punk.
That's fair.
Right.
I got another transition for you.
Oh, okay,
Speaking
okay.
of punk, there's my favorite genre is post-punk revival,
Oh,
which is like
you've definitely mentioned this before.
it's like the most niche sounding genre, but also if I could list probably 30 bands and you've heard of all of them would be my guess.
What are some of the bands?
So the Strokes,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Interpol. But
Yep.
let me just I found a post-punk revival playlist, and it had 110 songs on it, and I had liked 98 of them already. The other ones I was like, oh, I know this one, I just didn't like it. So
Wow.
here, Franz Ferdinand, the Strokes, the Klaxons, Kaiser Chiefs, the Fratellis, Arctic Monkeys, the Killers, the Kooks, Jet, Two Door Cinema Club, Vampire Weekend,
There are some big
the
names in
White
here, some that I
Stripes,
like too.
the Black Keys, the Wombats, Blur, Kings of Leon, Block Party, the Hives, OK Go, Foster the People, Alt J. There were a couple of really big bands that weren't on it that I was like, why aren't they? The Caesars, Cage the Elephant,
Oh yeah.
Tame Impala kind of is, Beck kind of is, Pixies kind of are. Cold War Kids, Young the Giant, Saint Motel, Mike Snow.
Holy cow, this is a wide-reaching genre.
Isn't it? But like, Joy Division kind of is.
But like, I definitely like, it makes sense when I think about it because of all the ones I know, I can like see the kind of through lines, and I'm
Yeah,
like, wait.
well, the music's so weird because a lot of genres are technically defined by time and location, which you don't really think about because if you think about genres in a traditional sense, you're like, oh, like rock has like X type sound, pop of, actually even like let's say pop, like technically like pop is just whatever is popular at that time.
Oh yeah.
So if you go back and listen to like 1950s pop, it sounds nothing like modern day pop because it's like really doo-wop or it's really like some other genre we define later.
Yeah. Which is why like pop has always been like such a weird genre to me because I'm like, oh yeah, I like pop, and then I'm like, but what is pop? Like I know there are some elements that are, you know, clearly
Yeah,
evocative of pop now, but like I don't know. You're
I
right.
mean, it's just Carly Rae Jepsen fundamentally.
Yeah, exactly. Carly Rae Jepsen's Emotion, the greatest album of all time.
Speaking of dude metal, Cruz's brother was the one that told me to listen to Carly Rae.
Oh, the guy that gave you like
Yeah,
the 2 hour spiel about it?
yeah, we were going to a Cake concert, and he's like, "You gotta listen to Carly Rae Jepsen. She's like the best artist alive." And he's the one in like the dude metal band.
It's such an amazing connection. I
Oh,
want to
he's
meet this
crazy.
person.
I
Oh my
love
goodness.
like Cruz and his brother are insane.
You know some really crazy people.
Cruz, yeah, Cruz is up there. I'm trying to think. Yeah, all my boys from home are like insane because they'll just like they just do the weirdest stuff, but they're like so successful. I mean, like my best friend Rudy, he like I hated him when I first met him, but like he came from another school where he like this was like a middle school and he learned Italian at his other school. And when he moved to my town, he learned we didn't have it, so he like took Spanish with my class. And every single class he would just say no hablar español.
Oh.
And I was like, I hate this kid. But then we bonded over martial arts and Skyrim.
Nice,
Bro, that's
nice.
what I feel like what every middle school kid bonded over
Exactly.
in the
Like, that's
early
how you, that's how you,
2010s.
right? Like that's how you bond, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
So then like he just has like a crazy life because he'll like junior year going into senior year of high school, he was like making absolute bank working tech. And he worked remotely, so like his workday started at 9 a.m. So he'd wake up at 10 a.m. and then his boss would
Nice.
email him at 11 a.m. and be like, "Hey, can you do this?" And it would take him like 15 minutes, and he'd be like, "This good." And then 2 hours later, his boss would be like, "Yeah, can you do this thing now?" And just like rinse and repeat every day. So he would just like watch Game of Thrones for like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and he made bank doing it.
That's kind of sick. Oh my gosh. I'm jealous. No, I think the real way to make all your money is to just invent some really obscure niche genre and then
No,
throw it down.
all you need for music is 4 chords. You just gotta make a 4 chord song.
That's true. It's pretty easy. Why isn't everyone doing it?
Everyone is.
You're right. You're right.
Have
I
you
mean,
ever
like,
seen Axis of an awesome 4 chord song?
oh, it slaps. It's so good.
I don't think I've heard of it.
It's like a comedy band. They were on one of those music shows. I forget which one. Do you know Feeds?
I don't remember. I can look that up while you explain it.
So they were on a music show, and they're just talking about how like basically every pop song is the same 4 chords, and then it's just, like the melodies or the arrangement of the chords are different. And they just played, I want to say like 20 songs. It was 36 pop songs.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a
Actually, you know what?
lot.
Yeah, I kind of think I've heard of this one.
Yeah, it's the 1 5 6 4 1 5 minor 6 4 progression. It's like a super basic progression that's just like every pop song does because it just is meant to sound good.
And like, I don't know, it's a fantastic mashup of all of the things. It's, well,
Mhm.
and I mean, I don't know, there are some amazing mashups out there. I mean, Sam, I know you and I are big fans of Cicierega. Dude, the Mouth albums and Lemon Demon, honestly, are amazing.
Oh, I found one song that was a Snow Halation times Replay by IS, and I think is one of my favorite mashups.
I feel like that's really cursed, but also probably a banger. The stuff that you can find on the internet, and I'm sure you've found way weirder stuff than I have, based on all the songs you've heard in your life. I don't know, even reading about some of these things that, like, my cousin is really into music, and he told me about some stuff for this, and, like, I'll see things like breakcore, and I'm like, pardon?
Oh, if you want to if you dive into like all the chords or like nightcore, daycore, or whatever, there's a lot of subgenres of music that are absolutely insane and super niche.
Oh yeah, I found one today called Extra Tone, which is
Mhm.
apparently a subgenre of breakcore, and it's basically like 1,000 beats per minute.
You ever listen to there's a YouTuber Andrew Huang? You ever seen his stuff?
I feel like that name rings a bell, but I don't think so.
It's a lot of like music theory and like sound production stuff he does. But he has a couple of videos that are just like ABC genres, and it's just like music through like 26 genres. And like
Ooh.
there's some weird genres he has in there that I like discovered weird music from watching those videos and like just looking them up.
Do you remember any of them, or?
Let me look them up. I personally, in terms of like, it's not a weird genre, but I love ska music, which is such a bad genre. But
How dare you?
I love ska. Do you know the band the Mighty Mighty Bosstones?
I'm not familiar. I don't know about Tommy.
They have 14 members of their band. This one guy, his role is dancer or boss tone in air quotes. And he has my dream job because he just does this thing on stage called skanking, which is I don't know if you know what skanking is, but it's like
I don't know
it's
if I
like
want to know.
it's like the ska dance where you just kind of like throw your arms around,
Oh yeah.
and like that's what he does. He's been in the Mighty Mighty Bosstones for like 20 plus years, and he just skanks on stage.
Hey
Wow.
man, everybody's got a job, all right?
Like that is all I want to do.
Like that's kind of what I love about like this whole just industry, especially now that, getting your music out there is a lot more like democratized than it used to be.
Mhm.
The fact that, anyone can do this random whack stuff, and as much as we might be like, I don't get it, or like, how is that such a big deal? It's just amazing that people can make a living off of that. Like, oh, what a world we live in, honestly.
It's hard to make music off of like you don't I mean money off music. You don't like a lot of it's like you make money off a concert or merch. But like a lot of musicians, you like don't really make money off the music itself, like in terms of like Spotify, because you get it's something insane, like 0.01 pennies per listen or something crazy like that.
Yeah, and that's something I didn't even know until recently. Like, I always knew
Mhm.
that streaming kind of didn't pay a lot because of the whole Taylor
Mhm.
Swift debacle a few years ago. Um,
Mhm.
but I didn't even realize until like this year how much of like artists' revenue is from concerts, like you're saying. I was like, oh, it must be pretty even, but apparently like I didn't realize so many people were gonna delay their albums because of the quarantine, but now I get why, because it's, it can be so detrimental to not have that, I can imagine.
Yeah, so my I remember I was at my friend Nick who had that song with a smile.
Yeah.
He it's like a 2 million hits, I think. I was talking to him about it, and he's like, yeah, like for his contribution, he's like, I could maybe get like a nice lobster dinner with for like me and a date.
Wow,
Like
dang.
that's yeah, like it's like absurd how little money you make.
That's so sad. I know that like especially if you have a hit, don't you like the few artists that have had those hits that didn't sign to a label. I feel like Macklemore was one with Thrift Shop and he just made bank off of it because it was
Yeah, so
huge, but also
labels take a ton. Chance the
yeah.
Rapper is probably the biggest one.
Is he not
I
signed
mean, I don't know
anywhere?
if you like know Chance's stuff, but he like basically had 10 Day, which he wrote in 10 days when he was on he was suspended for drugs in sophomore year of high school, I think. And like ever since then he tried like he put out a few oh god, I'm gonna completely butcher the order. I think it was Acid Rap and then 3, if I remember correctly.
I love the title
Um
Acid Rap.
it was Acid Rap. So it's yeah, 10 Day, Acid Rap, then Coloring Book. I don't know why I said 3. His hat had 3 on the album art. But yeah, so 10 Day he made it was a 14 song album he made in 10 days in sophomore year of high school when he was suspended.
That's awesome.
Then he put out Acid Rap and he put out Coloring Book, and he was like independent. Like he made money from merch, he made money from concerts, and then he was with do you know this Donnie Trumpet and the Social Experiment?
I don't think so.
You'd probably know Sunday Candy by them, but he was with them, and then that's kind of how he got big. And then Donnie Trump and the Social Experiment ended up just becoming his backing band instead of him just being like a member of the band, which is pretty cool because he did stuff with them still. It kind of reminds me of like Anderson .Paak and the Free Nationals. It's kind of the opposite of that, where like the Free Nationals are his backing band, but they just like released their own album that's like amazing, just because they just have like so many connections in the industry now, and they just have like all these insane features.
That's so cool. It's fascinating for me. I mean, I've more so, in my experience, like found it with kind of the television industry and stuff, but like definitely the same in music, in kind of tracking influences and also like where people come from, just going from person to person to person. It's so cool to see like things interact and just random artists come together that you would never
Yeah,
expect.
like what Post Malone and Ozzy did a song like a year ago. That was
What a
so weird and pretty
combination.
cool. Yeah, but that's basically what a genre is. It's just like people inspired by the same thing and then like inspiring each other. Like one album I'll probably do for the book club at one point is Hot Fuss by
By
Hot
Killers,
Fuss by
right?
the
That's a
Killers.
classic.
And they were like hugely inspired by Interpol for a lot of like their music. Like you can tell Interpol's bass player's name is Carlos Dangler, which is a beautiful name. And you can definitely see his inspiration in their bass lines. But also at the same time, like Brandon Flowers was like the lead singer for the Killers. He's like, yeah, like they basically had an album for Hot Fuss, and then he listened to Is This It by the Strokes, which is it was a kind of big Strokes album. You would probably know Last Night off of it,
Yeah, yeah.
like the big song. And he said it was such a perfect album that like he looked at his music and he's like, this is trash. And they scrapped every song except for Mr. Brightside and rewrote the album.
Wow. Holy cow.
And like if you listen to Hot Fuzz, you just go through, you start off, it's like Jenny Was a Friend of Mine, which is an
Banger.
amazing song. Mr. Brightside, which is amazing. Smile Like You Mean It, which is amazing. Somebody Told Me, which is amazing. All these things that are like you just keep going and it's like just amazing. Like it's such an amazing album. And it was like basically it was just because they listened to like one Strokes album and they're like, yo, we gotta fix our stuff.
That's so cool. I'm probably like I think I was super out of the loop on this, but I was doing a paper for a class last fall about concept albums, and I was researching how like the Beatles were inspired by Pet Sounds to do like Sgt. Pepper, and
Yeah.
for some reason that like surprised me because in my brain I was like, oh, they're just such separate things, but like that's so cool. I don't know.
That sounds is arguably like a lot of people consider it like the perfect album.
Yeah.
I would say Rumors by Fleetwood Mac is better personally, but
Ooh, throwing down the hot takes.
throwing yeah, hot takes here. That's not even a hot take. That's also like considered one of the best albums of all time.
The lukewarm takes.
Wait, I'll get a hot take. Oh, I could rant about Kanye non-politically if you guys want, about the college trilogy being like peak music.
If you want to, whatever you want, man, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I'm down for it.
So, going back to our point of like sampling, a lot of people like like a lot of music like Neil Cicierega and stuff is like all about how they use samples.
Oh yeah.
Samples
And my boy MF Doom.
yeah, samples were and like MF Doom, but like he's actually another example like what I'm about to say. Like the rap game is so huge on sampling, like rap. Like you think of like the greats like Wu-Tang Clan, all their stuff it's just like a bunch of samples of, like old like martial arts movies and stuff that they use as like a start to their rap. And you have artists like Kanye West who's like he just takes like an obscure song from like the 20s and like samples it and then just makes it into a rap beat. Or Tribe Called Quest, you have like Q-Tip.
Oh
And
yeah.
he just takes like a sample from like Lou Reed, Walk on the Wild Side for like bass, and then he'll take like some obscure jazz musician on drums. And his whole thing is like he just puts together like all these great musical moments into one song and just makes like a new beat. And then you have like amazing rappers like Phife Dawg just go over it, and it's like it just like becomes its own thing, and it's like insane.
Yeah, it's another thing that I know like there's a lot of kind of complications with the legality and people not always agreeing on the usage of sampling, but like it's fascinating to see people repurpose things, especially, like you're saying, like sometimes just having a bit there can be cool and interesting, but like if you're repurposing it and making it into this new thing, which from the little bit of Kanye I've heard. Oh, go ahead.
It's hard because you take Anaconda by Nicki Minaj is a good example.
Oh yeah.
Where like Sir Mix-a-Lot didn't even know about it until it was like out on air, and half the song's just him. Like that, there's like that extreme of like, to me that kind of feels like copyright infringement. But then you have like other ones where it's literally just someone using like a hum for a moment or something, and you're like, yeah, that's just kind of like a homage maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a video recently about all of the samples that went into My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, and the amount of stuff in there that I would not have even caught as like something separate, I was blown away. It's crazy. Even in just like one or two songs from that album that have like a dozen samples or whatever.
It also took sound design if you want, because there's some really cool stuff. Kanye does some really cool stuff. Cool one I want to talk about is Childish Gambino, Redbone. Or like, I don't know if you've like listened to the song in a while, but like, it has a glockenspiel in it, and like,
Oh, dude, I
like,
love the glockenspiel.
and I don't know if you like just talk to a person, you're like, yo, did you know like this song has a glockenspiel? Like 9 out of 10, they'd be like, what? But then you listen to it and you hear like in the background like that, bang 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 bang, like kind of low in the mix, and that's just a glockenspiel. Like it's just Ludwig Göransson just going ham on a glockenspiel.
That's so true. I mean, the only reason I know what a glockenspiel is because like one of the artists I was in high school had a song, and I was watching the behind the scenes thing, and she was like, "I got to use a glockenspiel in this, so that was pretty cool." And I was like, "That's a fun word."
I like it.
I like it, but that's so cool.
Ludwig's cool because they I mean I could go on for a while about Donald Glover, but he's like insanely talented because he went from, so he was at NYU Tisch school, right? He was writing for 30 Rock, had active stand-up comedy career, and then like he just became, and he also had a sketch comedy group, which was like they just had amazing stuff. And then he went from that, got a role on Community,
Oh yeah.
started rapping, became one of the most successful like rappers of our, I would say one of the most successful of our generation.
Yeah,
And then
I would
he's
agree
like,
with that.
and then he's like, yeah, I want to do a show, and then just made Atlanta, which is like an incredible, like an insanely, I was gonna say insanely insane, which is not a sentence.
Bro,
You're killing it.
It's
an insanely
absolutely
cool show.
bonkers.
Yeah, absolutely bonkers show. Like he's just so talented, and
Is he like actually done making music? Because I remember he said he was done, and then he released the album earlier this year.
I don't know if he's like done, but I know like music can be a hard grind for people because you effectively like you put an album out, you tour for about a year or year and a half. The whole time you're thinking of new stuff for your new album. You make a new album, and then
Rinse and
basically
repeat.
rinse and repeat every year to 2 years, depending on your album cycle time.
That's
And
the
it's like
scary
that,
thing
and
about.
you're just on tour the whole time. Yeah, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. I was just gonna say that's the scary thing for me about like the industry of just getting in any creative jobs at all is because it's that constant cycle that's just like you gotta keep making things. Like not only to stay relevant, but just to make money at all a lot of the times, or enough money at all.
Like I love CGI and like all of that, like computer graphics, visual effects, all that. Like I think it's
Oh
such
yeah.
a fascinating industry. But like if you're not pumping out constant content, like you're just old news. And even if you are pumping out constant content, you have like channels like Corridor, which was like the visual effects channel on YouTube for years. Like their main channel has effectively been dying over the past like few years. But
I didn't
they're
even think about that. Yeah.
well, then you have like their secondary channel, which is like a vlog style about them making videos, gets more views. Like the process of them making a video and talking about it gets more views than the video itself does. Because like
Oh wow.
just the industry itself, like I guess I don't know if the industry has changed, but like you know what people want out of it has changed.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it changes. It feels like at this point by the day. You know what I mean? Like, I remember my grandmother a few months ago was like, "Why don't they have bands anymore?" And we were like, "Bands still exist." But to an extent, I kind of understand that, like, it's less like there's, one or two huge people, and there's just like a bunch of big people that are big for a couple months, or even like just have one hit and just come and go super fast. Like I
I
don't know,
mean,
even though.
to be fair, that's like been the way forever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, even though there's always been like one hit wonders and stuff, I feel like I don't know, I feel like it's so crazy now where you can have artists that can still get decently big, but
Mhm.
like still, drop just as fast.
Yeah, I would. The This is like this bias with music. It's kind of the same. It's the same with like the moral bias in music, where people are always like, "Oh, music today is more vulgar." Like like you can make any argument about music, and it's like, no, you're just like, it's. I would say it's because we will remember the greatest of every generation
That
of
is a very
music.
good point, actually.
A
Yeah.
lot of it falls off. 'Cause, like I did this one thing for I worked at the alumni office, and I did this thing where I just went through the top 100 songs of every year for a few of the reunions. So I would do like I would backdate it. So for each one, I'd do like 4 years back, just to get kind of like the music they would have listened to their college career.
Yeah.
I did that for a couple parties, and I can tell you, top 100 of each year, I listen. I have like over 10,000 songs on my Spotify. I would maybe know 10 of them, and the rest would
Wow.
be like random obscure stuff that like top 100 of the year. I like. I was like, what? Why would a person listen to that?
That's crazy. That
Yeah.
sounds like an amazing job. I
It
wish
was
I could
so
have that.
fun. I had to do it on this old iPod. I basically got to make it like a playlist on Spotify, and then like I guess it was an old iTouch because I would have to like it was weird. It was a process, but it worked.
Hey, sometimes you have to do it to get the right mixtape, you gotta commit.
Dude, nobody makes mixtapes anymore. It's sad.
It really is, because sequencing things, I've talked about this in the music book club before, like
Yeah.
sequencing music is fascinating to me. Like how the decisions that go into that, especially when it's not something where it's kind of like, okay, I've sat down and this like tells a very overt story from one to the like beginning to end.
Yeah, because you can have an album like take like "Man on the Moon" by Kid Cudi, where it's very clearly like a story, or take the Deer Hunter is an even easier example because it's actually a story through the albums. Like you can have like that, or you can have like "Enema of the State" by like Blink 182, where they put Adam's song and all the small things next to each other, and it acts as like a contrast because Adam's song was written because it's like when he wrote it, it was like I don't have a girlfriend. All my band members have girlfriends. When I go home, I'm just sad and depressed and alone, and they're happy. And that was kind of like the impetus of Adam's song. And then all the small things is like, oh, I love my girlfriend. She's awesome. She does all this,
Cicierega.
yeah, she does all this nice stuff for me. But like having those two songs next to each other doesn't seem right. But then like the instruments like the instrumental like feeds into it perfectly with like the buzzing at the end feeding directly into the open mics like open amp sound at the beginning of all the small things. Like
Yes.
they purposely made it feed into it, and because of that, like you kind of carry through the songs and you hear like the contrasting of the two, and it kind of helps like create the message of Adam's song almost in a more positive light. Because at the end of Adam's song, it's all about like the dark, like the dark is over, we survived. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and then all the small things is effectively like, hey, this song's the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. I
But like
love that.
if you didn't have that sequencing, you would not have that at all, which is like super cool.
Dude, it's all about that context, man.
Yeah.
Context is key for music. It can really change things. I know Tommy and I, as we kind of referenced earlier, I don't remember if it was on air or before air or whatever, but love doing the Blink-182 voice.
Always, I know you'll be.
Out
All
for
right.
the
My
show.
show.
That's sad because I think it was Hoppus, right? Who like left the band.
Are you
believe
talking
it-
about
I believe
the?
it was Mark Hoppus, right? That left.
No. It was Tom DeLonge.
Oh, it was Tom. Okay, Tom left. Sorry,
Yeah.
I
Mark
didn't.
Hop- yeah.
I don't listen to them after like end of my list.
I don't think many people do. But yeah, no, it was Tom DeLonge because he was the one who had like the "Where are you?"
Yeah, he wanted to make it poppy.
Yeah.
It's so weird because like that's actually another good topic is like, as an artist you can churn out the same thing or like, you can adapt.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Cough,
it's so
cough.
hard because like
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
yeah, like
Uh,
take Red Hot Chili Peppers, right? You have arguably the greatest bassist in history. Like I would definitely say he's top 5 bass all time, like Flea.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
he's insane. Like he revolutionized slap bass. Like the style where you hit the strings higher up with your thumb and then you kind of pop up with your fingers to get that
Yeah.
boom sound. It's like a pretty. It's kind of it's a difficult style to learn, and it's definitely like super different than normal bass playing.
It's like Big Brain, I guess you could say.
It's kind of like it's the Seinfeld theme actually.
Boom, 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 boom.
The Seinfeld theme was actually played on a synth, but fundamentally like the sound of it is a slap bass sound where it's boom, bam, bam, like that sound.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Um,
Of course
yeah,
you know
but
that. Oh my
they have,
god.
they have like one of the like greatest musicians alive, and then they just churn out the same thing every album.
Yeah. Listening, some of Red Hot's early stuff is wild to listen to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, so some of this might not be as interesting of an example, but just kind of sometimes the adapting, what you're mentioning earlier, when bands just become more like traditional and mainstream poppy, it can be really disappointing. Like,
That's the other side, though, yeah. Like I can name like 10 bands that I don't listen to anymore because like their first album sound I loved and the rest I hated.
exactly, one of my favorite albums, both from nostalgia, but also I think it holds up, is Maroon 5's first album, Songs About Jane, is like great.
Amazing.
And
It's banger after banger.
yeah, and it has a really distinct style to it. And then as soon as you get to the second album, it already is just starting to lose it. And I'm like, what's happening? And it's so
Yeah.
sad. Oh, it's so disappointing.
I like Songs About Jane. You have like you have This Love, Sunday Morning. Oh my.
She Will Be Loved, Harder
I
to
forgot.
Breathe.
I forgot how good that album was.
It's so good.
Going way back to an earlier point, Kanye West College Trilogy.
Oh, yes.
Higher albums. So you have College Dropout, Late Registration, and Graduation. The albums like generally have a through theme. Like especially College Dropout is mostly like I just wanna like it's basically like talking about like religion, family, and just like trying to like find your place in the world kind of in like an unfair world. It talks about like
Mm.
We Don't Care is like the first song off of College Dropout, and it's just like Kanye talking about like if you're in like a poor neighborhood, the drug dealers are the one that make money, so like you kind of that's what you aspire to. And I don't want to get like too political, but it's like stuff like that where it's like just talking about like actual like he even like gets into like crime statistics in some of his songs,
Wow.
and like they're factually accurate ones, or like he talks
Yeah.
about like minimum wage and stuff, and it's just stuff like it's like super real. And then like his later music just kind of became like stadium hits, where it's just like talk about how cool he is, so he can like sing it in a stadium, and everyone's like, "Woo, you're cool."
Yeah, that is fair. And then he released an album of gospel music.
Yeah, he also released an album with Kid Cudi, which not a lot of people like. but I think was
Really? I thought people liked that. I didn't really like look into it, but
Kid Sees Ghost. There's one song Reborn, which I think is really cool. He talks about like mental illness in it, and it's him and Cudi, and because like Cudi was like one of the first rappers to talk about mental illness,
yeah.
and it was insane. Like Man on the Moon Part 1 was like, oh, like some rappers like Travis Scott said like it saved his life because it's just like someone genuinely talking about like my life's pretty decent, but like I'm still depressed, I still have anxiety, I still get night terrors, like all these things happen, like it's okay, they happen to me too, like like you're not alone kind of vibe off the
Yeah,
album.
it goes a long way.
And it went a long, yeah, like it went a long way for so many people. Like I remember Soundtrack to My Life is like, that song's also insane because it has the coolest alliteration. The moon will illuminate my room and soon I'm consumed by my doom.
Oh,
That's
but-
6 yeah, that's 6 way like consonants. And just like the lyrics, I love like, I don't like from the music book club, like digging into good lyrics.
mm,
There's one line off of that song where he says, now I'm in the whip, alcohol and the wound. My heart's an open sore that I hope heals soon. So it's about alcohol in the wound, obviously, it's like disinfecting is like the first way you read it. But it's also like alcohol in the wound, kind of like, drinking to like quell your emotions, kind of like
yeah.
the pain away. And then the third way is like, now in the cut, alcohol in the wound, sorry, not the whip. It's the cut. So it's a like a physical cut, then drinking alcohol like kind of like dull your senses and stuff. But then the cut, he also drove a cutlass, so then it's the added layer of like talking about drunk driving.
Oh my
It's like
gosh.
it just like stacks up and stacks up, and it's just from that one
Dense.
line. Now I'm in the cut, alcohol in the wound. Like just that has 3 layers.
That's so dense. Oh my gosh. I'll never forget the start of one of my courses this past semester.
Mhm.
Somebody was like, we were talking about life-changing experiences or whatever, and somebody
Mhm.
was like, honestly, I listened to Man on the Moon. It like changed my perception of like what music could be. And if that was middle school me or even early high school me, I would have been like, yeah, okay, nerd. Not that
Okay.
extreme, but like, but like, I would have been like, been skeptical, I guess. But just in this past year, realizing for me just how, I don't know, the potential of music and just how dense certain songs and albums can be, it's fascinating. And that's definitely a strong example that I've heard has really affected people.
Yeah, I mean, I could get into sad music, but I think that's too depressing for this. But I do have a point that's called Feel Strip. That's if you ever want to get into that, we can talk about it.
Oh, heck. I mean, I feel like there's a million things we could talk about. Oh my goodness.
Music's a very wide topic.
It
Yeah.
is. And I mean, I don't know. How are you feeling, Tommy? Is there anything you wanted to throw in the ring, or any like artists you wanted to?
I mean, when it comes to music, I think I've talked about this before. I'm not the most informed on it.
I mean, I'll be real with you. I'm not either.
Yeah, no, I don't think.
Tommy, don't forget this is the podcast with 2 guys. And they're
Approximate
all the right
knowledge of many things. I think when it comes to like obscure music, I guess I think one of the more like obscure groups I know is Moxy Fruvis.
Oh
You guys ever heard of
yeah.
them? So their album Bargainville has a lot of really good songs on it. They're definitely, I would say, kind of an acquired taste. Like it's just like very 90s like stuff you'd hear in a coffee shop type stuff. But I enjoy it. Like their most popular song is like King of Spain, and that was just kind of like the one breakout they had. But other than that, like Stuck in the 90s is awesome. BJ Don't Cry. Video Bargainville is like my personal favorite. It's literally just about going to the local Blockbuster and getting movies there.
Oh, a vibe.
Okay.
Yeah, The Lazy Boy is about a lazy boy chair. But yeah, they got like a bunch of great songs. I don't even know how to describe their music.
You've gotten me into some weirdly obscure stuff sometimes, Tommy. Like one of the songs that not Moxy Fruvis, but one of the songs that you've told me, I think because of your family, but like you just started singing Matzo Balls one day, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, by Slim Gaillard, yeah.
and I'm like, what are you singing? And I look it up, and it has like a couple thousand plays on Spotify, maybe.
Oh yeah.
But it's a banger.
Dude, his Slim Gaillard's most popular song, Potato Chips. And he's just singing about potato chips. He's like, potato chip. I love potato chip. And that's the entire song, but it's amazing. He's fantastic.
That sounds like the kind of music that we would make.
Oh, yeah. was I gonna say? Another band that I found recently. It's called Stanley.
Oh.
Well, so the story is basically me and my friend, we were driving around, and we were just goofing off or whatever, and there was like this house that was like abandoned or whatever that we wanted to go check out, and it was on this street called Stanley, and my friend, being the jokester he is, like, goes, I'm gonna look up Stanley on your map on your phone, and instead he just looks it up on Spotify and plays the first song, and for like an hour and a half we just listened to that band, and they had some good stuff. They're kind of like one of those bands where their sound is pretty stagnant, I guess is the way to say it. Like, it's the same sound through all the songs I heard, but I enjoyed it. But
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I don't listen to like a ton of music on my own, so usually almost all of my musical experiences are from other people.
And that is fair. I feel like it's a really fine line, as we kind of touched on earlier, with like keeping a consistent sound but also adapting, because like to a certain element you want some level of consistency in your music, and especially in an album.
Yeah.
Maybe not instrumentally, but in some form. But at the same time, like, you don't want all of the songs to sound exactly the same and just blend together.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, one of my like favorite artists right now is bbno Money, and he had for a long time like a very unique sound, but it was a lot of his songs used that sound, and then he came out with the song La La La, which got wicked popular.
Oh yeah.
And then he came out with an album right after that called I Don't Care at All, and it was kind of like a mixture. A lot of it was like him talking about just like, because since La 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 was like his big breakout hit, like all of a sudden he was huge, and it's talking a lot about that, but like it's super different from everything else he had. And then like I looked online, and like all of his longtime fans were like, this isn't it, like this isn't his normal stuff, I don't want him to change or whatever. And honestly, it's like my favorite album by him. I think it's great from start to finish, except for like one song in there. But yeah, so it's like one of those things where change can be good.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
Yeah, like fundamentally, you don't want to be playing the same three songs, for like decades.
Yeah, and he's like come out with what's it called? He's come out with like a bunch of songs over quarantine, just like a bunch of singles. But the issue I have with a lot of them is like almost all of them sound the same, and I'm just like, I don't know. Except I will say, Out of Control is another song that was kind of out of his normal range. Very good song. The first line is playing Smash Bros with my boys another Friday night. It's a great song.
Fantastic. I'm constantly impressed by artists that can manage that, like having such a different sound but still being consistent. Like, one of my favorite artists of all time, I don't think I've talked about them on here yet. I'd be surprised if I hadn't, though, is Gorillaz. And I know Sam is a fan of them too.
I've never heard of them.
They're pretty obscure, actually. No, but like, I think of some of their albums have just such a wide variety of like sound sometimes, and like they can dip their toes into a lot of different genres, especially like comparing albums to each other. But like, I don't know, there's still that element of consistency to me most of the time. They have some albums that are not so stellar, obviously, but like overall, I don't know, it blows me away.
Well, look, the cool part about that is, I don't know if you know like their history at all, but it's just like Damon Albarn by himself, basically doing all the music.
Yeah.
And he was in Blur before that, like a song 2 by Blur. I think everybody knows.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Woohoo! Woohoo! Yeah, that's him.
Favorite
But he did that. Like it was like a side project he had where he's like, basically it was just like a critique of how like all these bands are fake and manufactured. Let's like take it to the extreme and make like a fully manufactured fake band.
It's
and
amazing.
then it just became his project. It became bigger than his actual band. That it just became like what he did.
Yeah, I love it for how fascinating it is because of like all of the weird stuff he does with it, like the virtual band and having this wild lore that he just casually throws in sometimes with like Jamie Hewlett, the artist. And then I went recently and I was like, I really love Gorillaz. I should listen to more Blur albums. And I listened through and I was just like, it's okay.
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of generic.
Yeah,
yeah, because like artists will do a thing where like, so like the big thing with like Blink-182, the controversy was like a lot of the band members had side projects where they were doing a different sound, and then Tom's like he wanted to take Blink in a different direction, and they're like, just do a side project if you want like a different direction, because like
Yeah.
they'd like carefully kind of crafted that like Blink sound you had since like the early single, like Cheshire Cat, I think was their first album. You had like Carousel and all that. Like their sound kind of kept through since then.
Dude, my man's has this deep knowledge here. I don't know how you like accrue so much knowledge about so much pop culture.
For me, I don't know. It's like I always try to keep busy, so I always try to like have something going. So for example, like when I was on the weeks where I actually had work for like most of the first half of summer, it was pretty not brainless work, but I could kind of like didn't have to focus on it too much.
Yeah.
So I did this thing where I just try to listen to like 4 new albums a day, just to like not go brain dead. Also, like once you start listening to albums, Feats, you probably like have felt it recently. Like it's just like the way you listen to music changes.
Oh, it's changed so much. Like I sit there and I listen to albums in a different way that I can't put into words, but there's things I appreciate now that I never would have appreciated like 6 months ago.
Yeah, I don't know. You just like you listen to the layers, you listen to like the instrumentation, you listen to like the low frequencies, the high frequencies, like how they differ, how they pull you, counter. Like there's like so much. Oh, and then like if you like when you get into bands going back to my friend Cruz, like he's really into this band, The National, and they're a really cool band. But then like you dig into them and you just find out like how cool they are, because like it's like 2 sets of twins and then a fifth member, and one set of twins plays guitar, like rhythm and lead, and the other does like bass and drums. So like they both have like different sections of music,
Oh,
like
that's
percussion
cool.
and like rhythm, and then you like dig in more and you figure out like one of them, like I think one of them did like music for like The Revenant and wrote a song for Portal 2.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
like you just like it's just like the more you look into stuff, the cooler it is.
Yeah. I mean, not to keep beating in the
Yeah,
same hammer for me, or that's not the phrase.
beating, beating the same hammer, you know.
That's our new band, Beat the Hammer. No, but like one of
The
the
nails.
reasons, yeah, not to hammer the same nail on the head repeatedly, but beat a dead horse is what I was trying to say. Anyways, I tried to get into Gorillaz like 2 times before I actually got into them a couple of years ago, and I was just like, this is weird. It's not my thing. I don't really get it. But diving into kind of the whole idea behind it and like what makes it what it is, like what makes it unique, really helped me appreciate it. And it got to the point where it's like, hey, I know some of these songs might not be that great, but I can just really appreciate like what's going on here in the greater context.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say Plastic Beach was the first album I ever listened to like fully through, like not just like like someone playing in a car kind of thing where you're forced to.
Yeah.
But even for me, it was like my neighbors got it the day it came out and played it, and I was like, this is weird listening to an album fully through. Like just play the good ones.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't until like years later, like I'd say probably like junior year of high school, where I actually started listening to albums, and it's like such a different way to listen.
It really is. I feel like there's so much we could dive into. There is one thing I kind of want to touch on. Sam, I know you have a playlist of songs with really wacky titles,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I kind of just want to hear some of your favorites from that because some of the ones I remember seeing were amazing.
I'll preface this with a lot of this is from Panucci's Pizza. They're a great band in terms of song names. So they have like, when the Trojans got that horse and they were totally like, yeah, this is legit. That's how sure I am. Or the world's greatest bowler is the world's worst everything else. My imaginary friend is still addicted to pornography is another one. I don't know if you know The Devil Wears Prada, the band, but they have a song called Dogs Can Grow Beards All Over. Which is another great one.
Who sits there and thinks of that sentence?
Like, oh, this is a classic feats. Charizard, why you eating all my pancakes? Off
Oh.
of Will Smith is trying to eat soybeans in my bed.
That's a banger. That was the first time that I was like, what kind of music does Sam listen to?
I fell asleep playing Pokemon.
Oh no, where's my Charizard card?
I love old Fall Out Boy songs have great names. Like our lawyer made us change the name of this song so we don't get sued. because their lawyer made them change the name of the song so they didn't get sued.
Oh, kind of coming full circle. A Fever You Can't Sweat Out has like I
How
respect
many
how
good
long
names?
some of those titles are, dude.
Yeah. Oh, you ever listen to Hiatus Coyote?
Ooh, no.
Okay, so they have really weird stuff. So like the one on here is Shaolin Monk Motherfunk. But I would highly recommend their song Nakamura, which is really cool because it's if you want to know the most niche job ever, the singer's friend works with mentally challenged Aboriginal artists, which is like
Wow.
yeah, a niche field, right?
Yeah.
And the tribe she works with have this thing called skin names. So basically, like I forget the number. I want to say like there are only 7 names. That's not the number, but like something like that. And your name you have, like the skin name you have, dictates your relationship with other people. So if like someone else you meet has like the skin name of like your grandmother, you treat them like as if they were your grandmother. So it's a way of like creating bonds between different groups of people to like ensure like you don't fight, kind of.
Interesting.
So her friend's like skin name she was given was Nakamura, and the song's about like how much the singer loves her friend.
Oh.
There's one on here, an academic lament of on Barbie.
Oh, it's a wild, wild world out there of music, man.
There's like crazy music out there. It's just music's just like it's a medium of expression, so like you can find anything you want or any. We haven't even talked about languages yet.
That's true.
Antwoord is like the big South African group. They're insane. It's like really weird, intense music, but it's in like Afrikaans and English and like a couple other languages, and it's like I don't get it, but it's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool.
There's another band I found because they actually opened for Antwoord, so they were like in related artists because they were like similar to them, called Leningrad. It's like Roma music combined with kind of like dubstep, and it's all Russian.
That's fascinating. The first non-English speaking band that came to mind, that I really like some songs from that I think are kind of blowing up is The Who. I think it's how it's pronounced. The Mongolian.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, no, those guys are dope.
I thought you meant like the
The Who, the Who.
Like, yeah,
Uh,
they're pretty indie, non-English band.
oh, I might have totally butchered the pronunciation, but
There's a really
No,
cool
it's
genre
fine.
if you like that. It's called Japanese folk metal.
ooh,
That's
The
got a
the
lot of layers to it just right
the,
there and then.
the big band of Japanese folk metal is called Japanese folk metal, so it's pretty easy to find them.
we could talk for hours, but I think
Yeah.
we could probably wrap it up here if we want.
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
I mean, I don't know about you, Tommy, but I'd love to have Sam on again one day if he's
Oh, of
interested.
course.
Yeah, if you ever want to pick any topic.
This is a
Hell
great
yeah.
time.
Thanks for having me.
Do you have anything that you want to plug? If not, that's fine. But
We're making a really cool game, Tommy and I, that won't be out for a
Oh,
very
yeah.
very long time.
Yep.
oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Is-
I guess I will probably be able to talk about that more in the coming months, but yeah.
This won't come out for like a while, so maybe by the time it does,
Or like
if there's more
several years.
information.
We've written like half the story, like the basics of half the story.
I mean, dude, it's a process. It's a process.
Oh, it's so fun, man. I just like
Yeah, it's a good time.
I gotta say, just like if you're ever interested in anything, just like do a project in it is the best way to learn. Like whether it be programming or like did I send you guys like the Blender video I made? Because I was like trying to learn Blender.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you just do stuff like that. Like I just want to like do a meme on one of my boys, so I spent like 10 hours in Blender making an animation.
I mean,
For, like a
fantastic.
10-second meme.
That's kind of part of the reason why I was like so ready to just kind of jump in and do this with Tommy. Is like we were both kind of like it'd be really cool to have a podcast, and I was like I'd love to
Yeah.
know how to do that. And like
Yeah, and you learn as you go.
exactly.
We have our good weeks and we have our bad weeks, definitely.
So yeah, keep an eye out for their game. We'll probably be promoting it through our Twitter at 218timepod as that comes out. You might also see it on our Instagram, also at 218timepod, where we post photos and clips relevant to the show. Unfortunately, there was a lot we had to cut for time this week, but we may add some of it to a possible deleted scenes episode one day, so follow us on social medias to stay up to date. You can join in the discussion on our YouTube channel or our subreddit r/218time, but the best way to approach us directly is to leave a review. While following or subscribing on your podcatcher of choice is super helpful, leaving comments and reviews is one of the best things you can do. We really appreciate the feedback, and it really helps us get the word out about the show. Thanks. Well,
Oh yeah.
thank you again, boys, and if that's all, then Godspeed.
Our reservoir.
See you, boys.